right, as we want to see this. Hope you all are having a great Friday. This is the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. We're going vertical. We're doing it vertical, folks. And this is Sarge. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, we talk about all things preparedness, including silver and gold. Hope you are having a great Friday. I am very much looking forward to this weekend. Actually, I'm looking forward to next week. I'm going to be doing a little bit of wilderness adventuring. I will definitely be filming some stuff for you all there. So stay tuned for that. But if this is the first time on your channel, we talk about all things preparedness, including silver and gold. And if you enjoy what you see tonight, despite the vertical live stream, please consider giving me a thumbs up. And please consider subscribing to the channel. Wow, we are off to a great start. So tonight we're going to talk about the top 15 frequently asked questions about silver and gold. And thank you for tuning in, Band Talk and Rosemarie, and God is Great. I appreciate you all and appreciate my putting up with my technical difficulties here. I really, you know, what's interesting is on, I think it's Wednesday of next week, I'm actually supposed to participate in a YouTube focus group where they're going to be asking questions about, like, you know, going live with a mobile phone and you know, and what makes it easy and what makes it hard. And this orientation of the camera is one of the things that gets a little bit tricky, because you have to turn it one way to type into it to set up your live stream, and then you have to turn it back. And then when I was trying to go live, what happened was there's a new button there called Tag Products, and I was trying to hit the Go Live button, but I fat fingered it and kept hitting Tag Products. And then when I tried to fix it, this is what happened. So here we are. Don't forget to smash the like button. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, God is Great. Prepping by Faith, it's good to see you. There are worse things in life than screwing up the orientations of your live stream, right? Tonight we're talking about the top 15 frequently asked questions about silver and gold. And you know what? Let's just get right into it. All right, so number one, what is the difference between silver and gold coins? Well, this one, this is really more of a newbie question, but silver and gold coins are made up of different metals. Gold is more rare. It's more dense and more valuable than silver historically. Gold coins are typically often, like, stackers like me will buy what's called fractional gold, because something like that there is going to run you, depending on prices that change at the time of filming this, you could probably get that for about $250. Whereas, so I just want to show you the size comparison here. So that's $250, and that's an ounce of gold, and that would be about $25. So $250, $25, give or take, maybe 30 now, 30, right? So that's the primary differences between gold and silver in terms of, like, historically, gold is worth more and is more rare. Both have medical and industrial uses, which I think we're going to get to here in just a second. What are the benefits of investing in silver and gold? Silver and gold coins are tangible assets, and they can provide a hedge against inflation. They can provide against times of economic uncertainty, such as we are in right now. I know that the pretty people on TV want you to believe that we're not in a recession, but you and I know better than that. They have a long history of holding their value and can be a valuable addition to any diversified investment portfolio. So let's stop there for a second and let's sidebar on that one. Now, everything you see on my channel cannot be considered financial advice. My channel is for entertainment purposes only. At times, I will tell you some of the things that I'm doing, and it doesn't mean that you should or have to follow, you know, my investment choices. But one of the mistakes, and Prepping by Faith did a great video today, by the way, if you all haven't seen it, about mistakes that she made, and I'm going to do a video response to her video, but please check hers out. Mistakes that she made when she started prepping. And one of the mistakes that I made when I started prepping was I leaned a little bit too hard into silver and gold for my financial prepping. And then as time went on, I started right around the time of, like, the Great Recession of 2007. And what happened was, because I leaned so heavily into silver and gold, I missed a lot of the uptick when the stock market came back, right? So I shot myself a little bit in the foot in that I missed out on opportunity to make thousands of dollars when the recession recovers and stocks start taking up, right? So one of the things that I talk about on my channel is that, yes, I do love silver and gold, but it is not the only financial asset that I use as part of my financial prepping. I also like dividend producing stocks. I have a small amount of growth stocks and an even smaller amount of cryptocurrencies. I also believe in having an emergency cash savings. And I also believe that real estate and other hard assets are also a great way to diversify, right? Silver and gold, for me, should not be the only way that you're putting some money back for as part of your financial prepping. But it is part of it for me, and maybe it'll be part of it for you. Bacon's good to see you, brother. How you been? Prepper Days, good to see you. Yeah, it's a great video, Prepping by Faith. I hope everybody watches that. In fact, Bacon, or if we get any other mods here, if somebody could dig that out and put a link in chat, I'd appreciate it. Prepping by Faith's most recent video, which was 5 mistakes she made when she started prepping. It's a really good video. Everybody should check it out. Bantalk says, stop buying silver and gold with the market up and have been speculating stocks. Yeah. So if you're doing both, maybe it is a good time to think about stocks because they're so low right now that when the upswing happens, if you're getting in now, and there's going to be people in the community who are going to disagree with me. I get that. That's fine. And I always welcome disagreement. That's fine. But I believe the stock market will recover. I don't believe we are in the great collapse yet. Do I think that is probably coming someday? Yes, but I hope it's not in my lifetime. I think we're in just another recession personally, but it's becoming a pretty bad recession and it doesn't look like we're getting out of this in 2023, maybe not in 2024. My personal speculation is that we might be looking at the next election cycle before we even begin to be getting out of this thing. But this is not financial advice. Number 3, how do I know if a silver or gold coin is genuine or fake? This is one of the number one questions that I actually get from people who are curious about silver and gold and people who want to learn a little bit about it. And their biggest concern, and it's a valid one, is they don't want to be ripped off, right? So how do you know if your silver and gold is real? Well, the number one thing, and this is what I always tell people, the number one thing that you can do to prevent getting ripped off and getting a fake is to buy from a reputable dealer. I myself use Apmex for most of my purchases. I've put that link in the description. You don't have to use Apmex, but I've been using them for years and I always get exactly what I want. It always gets delivered. I've never had a problem. And this is a company that's been around for a long time. They are not going to risk their reputation on putting out fake stuff. Where have I found fakes? Well, I've found fakes at pawn shops, and that's not to say that all pawn shops are bad. There's great pawn shops out there, but I have found some fakes at pawn shops. I've found fakes on eBay, and that's not to say that all eBay dealers are bad. Please do your own research, check their reputation. If you're dealing with somebody one-on-one that you've never dealt with before, like I would have no problem buying silver and gold from one of my friends, such as Fish or Pirate Stacker. I know they're not going to treat me bad. But if you've never dealt with somebody before, ask for some vouchers, right? Check them out before you, especially if you're spending, more than $25, $30. Definitely do your research before you do that. So many people get ripped off, and it's so sad when it happens. But if you're buying from a reputable dealer, that shouldn't happen. Your local coin shop, they've got skin in the game. And what do I mean by skin in the game? They've got a building that they're either renting or that they're paying a mortgage on. They've got a reputation in that community that they have to rely on. So, your chances of getting the genuine article at a local coin shop is very, very good. And I do buy some of my coins at local coin shop as well. So I do encourage you to check that out. All right. So there's also something called a magnet test. So silver will do, when you put it on a magnet slide, for example, it is magnetized, but to a very small amount. So instead of like sliding real fast down the slide, it should have a slow slide. Okay, that's what you'd be looking for. There's also something called a gravity test, a specific gravity test, which Bricktown Silver has shown how to do that. I'm not going to get into that tonight. And there's also a ping test, right? So all of these, unfortunately, are in capsules. I can't do it. But there's a very specific sound. It's a very specific tone when you take a coin and you balance it on your finger like that, and then you take another one and you hit it. It's a very specific ping. And once you know that sound and you're used to it, you'll kind of know what to look for. That's another way. You can also bring your coins to a local coin shop, and they usually have machines that can test what kind of metal it is. Now, you shouldn't bring in a big box of coins and ask them to test every one. That's not the purpose of it. But if you found one that you were kind of on the fence about, I don't know if this is a real deal or not, and go in there, ask them to do it. You should buy something too. Don't go in there and just use their machine, right? Like actually buy something, support them, thank them, maybe build a relationship so that the next time you go in there, he's going to remember you, and maybe he wants to, give you a little bit of, give you a little bit of a deal, or tell you like, hey, I just got this stuff in, right? So actually, I forgot I had this coin. That was a pretty cool little Canadian dollar. That's pretty neat. I didn't even realize I had this. I just pulled out a pile to put into the video. All right, cool. I'll take a look at that later. What factors affect the value of silver and gold? The value of silver and gold coins is influenced by a variety of factors, including metal content, right? So if you have a coin, most of the modern ones anyways, are going to say somewhere on there, like this says, I'll show you, right down the bottom there, 0.999 AE. That's 0.9999, 0.9999, 4 nines, fine silver, right? So a lot of them will say it on there. And if you have, hang on one second, just to give you a different perspective on things. So nickels, right, are made up of copper and nickel. Now that's not considered an actual precious metal, but they do have some melt value, right? So there's it's a composite of nickel and copper. So I will actually do a video about nickels and why I save all my nickels in another day. All right. Rarity is also a factor in terms of the value, condition, and historical significance of the coin, right? So I think I've got some peace dollars nearby, right? And these are not super old, but peace silver dollars, they don't make them anymore, so that has some historical value, just like a Morgan dollar would, right? So you don't really see these floating around in circulation anymore because, nobody's going to bring this into the store and buy candy with this, right? So it's the face value of it is $1, but it's worth like 0.72-ish ounces of silver. That's the real value of this, right? So you have the face value and then you have the silver content value of it. Oh, actually, let me see if it'll do it with these. Let's see if I can do a ping test for you. Now these aren't pure silver, so it might not sound right. Whoops. I don't know if the mic's picking that up. Can you guys let me know in chat? Do you hear how it's got a resonance to it? And is that not a beautiful sound too? Like somebody needs to do an ASMR video with that. Maybe I will. It's just such a pretty sound. Yeah. All right. Glad you guys can hear that through the mic. All right. Let me check your questions here real quick, and then we'll go on to the next one. Or comments. Sorry. Bacon, thank you for sharing that video. Appreciate that. You're a good man. Diversification is important. You're right. And you gotta, prepping by faith is right. Do your own research. Each of us is responsible for our financial decisions, right? So if I said to you, you should get out of the stock market and only buy silver and gold, and then the stock market rockets back up, y'all are gonna be pretty mad at me. So that's why I don't do that. Have a good night, Days. Go enjoy your time with your wife. Edward Scissorhands, I hope you're wrong, man, about this being the end game. But you're not the only one who believes that. That's for sure. There is a lot of pain in the economy, and there is way more layoffs coming, and there's more bank failures coming. I've never done that, Band Talk. I'm gonna have to look up the ICE test. Okay. Oh man, am I lagging? Really? Homestead Aquarius, good to see you. Jody Vassar, good to see you. All right, here we go. Yeah, I apologize if it's lagging. I'm just having all kinds of technical difficulties tonight. How do I store? Next question. Awesome, thank you. How do I store silver and gold coins to prevent damage or theft? Okay, so there's a lot of different ways you can do this. So first of all, in terms of damage, as you can see, a while back, I decided I was putting all my coins into these here capsules. There's a link for this in the description. That's one way to do it. You definitely don't have to do it that way. But how do you store it for security purposes? Well, that's going to depend. And I'm going to tell you that my opinion on this is different than most of the people in the community. Because I live in an area that's prone to high crime, the majority of my stack is not stored on site. Okay. My stack is stored off site in a vault. And most people, if you live in a low crime area, most stackers are going to keep it like in a floor safe or a fire safe or something like that, right? And actually, I read a story about a house fire where they did recover the firebox. Now, there's no such thing as a fireproof safe. So you see it advertised for that. There's really no such thing. Fire will burn anything at a hot enough temperature, okay? So there's no such thing as there's a fire resistance boxes and there's fire resistance safes. So there was a house fire, and after the house fire, they were able to recover their fire resistant lockbox, which was loaded with silver and gold. And guess what? It was there, but it was melted, right? So it was melted into this big blob of silver, and that's okay because that still has value, right? That metal, that blob of silver still has value, right? So it wasn't a complete loss for them. If there was rare coins in there, that's unfortunate, as it is unfortunate to have a house fire, but at least they were able to recover some of the value in silver. If there's a general saying in the community, if you're stacking, you better be packing, right? Because you have something of value, somebody might want to take it. And so, make your own decisions about that. I don't tell anybody what to do in terms of your home defense, but I would tell you to think about it. Safety deposit boxes. Some people do not like safety deposit boxes, and there has been a few. In safety deposit box, my understanding is it's not protected like FDIC, like your savings account is. It's not protected like that, right? So there have been a few incidents where stuff that was in somebody's safety deposit box was confiscated. There has been a few incidences where stuff that was in somebody's safety deposit box was given to the wrong person. So there have been mistakes like that, but they are extremely rare. And you have to ask yourself the question of, how likely is that to happen versus how likely is it to have, my rotten brother-in-law, who knows I have silver and gold because he's seen it one time, break into my house and take it, right? Or my neighbor who saw me at the coin shop break into my house and take it. So you have to weigh that against that and which one's more likely, okay? I know plenty of people who don't use these capsules. That's an individual decision. I decided to do it because I noticed after stacking for several years that some of my original coins that I had bought had picked up dings just from like handling them and putting them away. Silver and gold are soft metals, so they can pick up dings really, really easily. What number? Next question. What is the historical? Am I on the wrong one? I'm sorry, I skipped one. Here we go. What is the best way to buy silver and gold coins? The best way to buy silver and gold coins is through reputable dealers. That can be an online dealer such as Apmex, which is what I like for most of my stuff. It can be your local coin shop. It can be a person-to-person deal if you know that person has a good reputation and you trust them. Like I said, there's people in this community I absolutely, without hesitation, would buy from. Without hesitation. There are people in this community that I probably wouldn't buy from. Okay, so just be careful, do your own research, and make sure that they have a good reputation, whoever you're buying it from. Compare around too, right? Like, so here's a big one is like people will say, magazine inserts. I want people to be aware of magazine inserts. So you see this thing and it's like, everybody's getting into gold and silver. Isn't it your turn to get into gold and silver? And the prices you see sometimes in those magazine inserts is way higher than you're going to get at your local coin shop or through Apmex. So before you jump in and you get excited about it and you're like, man, I really want that gold coin, or I really want that coin from Fiji right there, just shop around, because you'd be surprised, you know, that a lot of the times the stuff that you're seeing advertised is not the deal that it seems to be. So shop around, okay? How do I clear? No. What is the that's going to be the next one. What is the historical significance of silver and gold coins? Silver and gold coins have played an important role in commerce and trade throughout history, dating all the way back to ancient civilizations. For 5,000 years, at least 4,000 years. I'd have to fact check when they started being minted. But for several thousand years, we'll say, gold and silver have been used as a form of commerce, storage of wealth, and also have for cultural and artistic significance, right? So this is why preppers like gold and silver. And if you're one of those preppers who says gold and silver has no value in SHTF, then I would encourage you to watch the video that I did where we debunked that. Because gold and silver have transcended civilizations for thousands of years. So civilizations rise and fall, but the value of gold and silver persists, okay? And if you look in areas of the world where there's strife right now, people are using stuff like this to escape those countries and to transfer into the form of currency of the country that they have chosen to go to. Sorry if I'm lagging again. I'm kind of seeing that. At least on one, I've got it rolling in the background so I can kind of monitor it, and it looks like I'm lagging, so I apologize. All right, let me check your comments here again. Fred, I saw you pop in. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Yeah, that's right, Jody. Thank you. That's a good comment. Like you should be making those decisions now about who you would trade, sell, buy from, especially if you have like the prepper mindset, right? Oh, Homestead Aquarius, that's really cool. I mean, it's not cool that their house burned down, but that's cool that you guys were able to find that and help people. I love that. Silver dollar sticking out of the pool. Huh, interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. By the way, if you're watching this on replay, try to turn on the chat. There's a lot of good stuff always going on in chat. I know if you're watching this later on Friday night, the chat might not be up. That's nothing I can do about that. That's a YouTube thing. They screen through it to see if there's anything naughty in there, and then usually by the next day the chat's available again. Number 8, how do I clean and maintain silver and gold coins? Okay, so this is one we need to talk about too. Silver and gold coins should be handled with care. They should not be cleaned with harsh chemicals or abrasive materials. They should be stored in a dry and cool environment, preferably with low humidity if you can do that. My personal feeling is that I do not clean my coins, especially, see if I can show you an example. Okay, so this is a very dirty piece dollar. You should not clean any historical coins like that, okay? Because you actually, believe it or not, you might think, oh, it'll be worth more. It's not. It's worth less. And I didn't decide that. That's just the way that it's been in the coin collecting community for decades, right? So you should never clean these older historical coins. That being said, they're your coins. Do what you want with them. I'm just giving you a warning that some people, if you tried to turn that in, if I turn this in now, it's going to get a certain grade. If I turn this in after I cleaned it, it's going to get a lower grade. And that's a fact, okay? So, you know, we can all say, well, that's stupid. That's fine. I get it. You know, I like clean coins too, but I'm just telling you what, you know, historically how that's looked at in the coin collecting world. If you are going to clean your coins, make sure you're doing it in a way that does not have harsh chemicals or abrasive materials. I think Silver Britches has done a video about that. You might, if you're really wanting to get into that, you can check him out. His coins always do look gorgeous. You know, you can't deny that. All right, and that was number 9 now. Are there any taxes or regulations I should be aware of when buying or selling silver and gold coins? So unfortunately, this is one that I'm not going to be able to answer because it really does vary state by state. It really is going to depend on your local jurisdiction and even your country of where you're residing. And it can even have, there's other things that can impact it, such as if you're paying with cash or not. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to answer that. You're going to have to do your own research, because the answer is yes, there may be taxes and regulations regarding the purchase and sale of silver and gold coins, depending on your location. It's important to consult with your tax professional or do your own research before buying and selling silver or gold coins. All right. Yeah, we're going to get into numismatics in just a second. They should never be clean, as Bantok said, and I agree. I agree with you. Yeah, it's so Homestead Aquarius says you can't eat gold and silver, but you can't pay taxes with beans and rice. You can't eat a flashlight, you can't eat a pocket knife, and yet those have places in the prepping world, right? So gold and silver's place is not to feed you. I mean, you could probably purchase food with it. People say, well, nobody would want that. I will, because I've got my food preps pretty well covered. I also know how to forage. I also know how to garden. And people in my group know how to hunt and fish and trap. So I've got my food preps pretty well covered. I feel very confident with my food preps. So if somebody came to me and they said, I want some tomatoes out of your garden, yeah, you can have tomatoes out of your garden. Bring me grandma's golden engagement ring. Bring me grandma's golden earrings. We'll talk. We can deal. So it's a myth to say that like nobody would want that. I can tell you right now, I would want it. Bring me your gold and silver when SHTF, if you can find me, because I'll be gone. if you can find me, bring me your gold and silver, and I will hook you up with some tomatoes. I promise. All right. Go watch that video where we debunked those, that you can't eat gold and that it's, has no place in the prepper's lifestyle. Should it be your first prep? No. Water purification should be your first prep, and a way to store water should be your first prep. Food security should be your second prep. Okay. Then medical. Then shelter and security. Then you can start thinking about financial prep. Okay. So it's not even in your top 4. What are the most number 10? What are the most popular silver and gold coins for collectors? All right, so the most popular coins for silver and gold collectors is the number 1 most popular is the American Silver Eagle, but the Canadian Maple Leaf, which is, I believe that's Canadian Maple Leaf, is also very popular. So for those of us who live in the United States or Canada, either the American Eagle or this or both are great to stack. American Gold Eagles, like, let's see. There's a gold eagle right there. So this is I believe a 1/4 ounce. Yeah, this is a 1/4 ounce gold eagle. So anywhere in the world, if you brought that into a jewelry store or a coin shop, anywhere in the world, they're going to recognize that, and you're going to be able to turn it in for their local currency. Anywhere in the world. Think about that as a prepper. If you had to get off the X, and you need to go to Canada, or you needed to go to Mexico, or you needed to go to Amsterdam, baby, or you needed to go to South Africa, or you needed to go to China, or whatever, you're going to be able to bring this to any jewelry store or any local coin shop, and they're going to recognize this, and they're going to be able to test it and see that it's legitimate 1/4 ounce fine gold, and they're going to be able to give you currency in that local economy. You get it now? Is it starting to make sense? All right, let's keep going. Also popular are South African Krugerrands, the Austrian Philharmonics. This is an Austrian Philharmonic right here. Anywhere in Europe, they're going to recognize that. Anywhere in Europe. Okay. What are some of the other ones? Obviously in China, the Chinese Panda. I don't know if I've got one of those available. Here's an American Silver Eagle right here. Okay. That's the Type 1. The new design's a little bit different. Anywhere in the world, they're going to recognize that if you take it to a coin shop or jeweler. Okay? Most popular silver coin in the world right there, actually. All right? Constitutional silver, though, also is a very good choice for preppers, right? That's pre-65, dimes, quarters, and half dollars. And then your silver dollars from like I don't know, what was it, 1928 or so, like the Peace dollar and the Morgan dollar, okay? All good choices for preppers who want to stack, okay? You bring me pre-1965 dimes, we're going to deal. We can talk, okay? All right. Can I use silver and gold coins as a form of currency? Well, silver and gold coins are no longer used as legal tender in most countries. They can still hold value as a store of wealth. And as we said, we can turn them in, we can turn it into fiat currency, right? But what's interesting is the BRICS alliance, and specifically the Russian ruble, is backing itself with gold. You may not realize, oops, sorry about that. You may not realize this, but if you're new to all this stuff, the American dollar is not, there's no gold standard. We ditched that decades ago. You know what the American dollar is backed by? Our fiat dollar? It's backed by the full faith and trust of the US government. Is the faith and the trust in the US government failing? You tell me. Okay? So there's a reason why, despite all the sanctions that we're putting on Russia and other countries are putting on Russia, the ruble is hanging in there. Okay? I want you to think about that and what this means for our future and for the future of our dollar. All right. How do I determine the weight? How do I determine weight and purity of gold and silver coins? The weight and purity of silver and gold coins on the modern coins should be marked, right? Let's see if I got another one to show you here. All right, so there's a Mexican Libertad. This is one of the older designs. And you can see over in the right-hand corner, right here where my thumb is, it says 0.39 fine of silver, okay? And up here, 1 ounce. That's how you determine it on modern coins. Right. Some of the older numismatics may not have that. What is the difference? Okay, and this is what we're going to talk about here for a second. We're going to sidebar. This is number 13. What are the difference between numismatic and silver and bullion, silver and gold coins? And so short version, I'm going to give you the short version and the long version. Numismatic coins are rare and have collectible value beyond the medical. Sorry. Numismatic coins are rare and have collector value beyond their metal content. Bullion coins are valued primarily for their silver content. And there's a third type, which is called sovereign bullion, which is sovereign bullion is gold and silver coins that are issued by a government and considered legal tender within their country of origin. These coins typically have a face value that is lower than their intrinsic metal value, and they can be used as a currency, but their actual value is based on their weight in silver and weight and purity. Right? So we go back to that American Eagle, just to give you an example. What's the face value on this one? What does it say down there in the right-hand corner? The face value is $1. What's the metal value? The metal value is 1 ounce of fine silver, which right now is around what, $25 or $26? So would you use this as a dollar? Whoops. Would you use this as a dollar, to go buy a candy bar? No, that would be really, really dumb. It's worth $25. So that's why you have to distinguish between the face value and the actual metal value, right? That's another question I get actually a lot for people who are brand new to this. Why does it say $1, but you're saying it's worth, $25 or $30 or whatever? 14, how do I build a diversified portfolio of silver and gold coins? Building a diversified portfolio of silver and gold coins involves researching different types of coins, selecting coins based on their metal content and rarity, and purchasing from reputable dealers or online marketplaces. So personal preference is definitely going to come into play here. There are people who like bars, there are people who like coins, there are people who like both. The majority of my stack, the majority of my silver and gold. Let's see. Is there one I haven't shown you yet? I think you guys have seen all these. What's this? The majority of my stack is sovereign bullion. Okay, that was the decision that I made. I wanted coins that were not only have their weight in silver and gold, but also have a face value for their country. Okay, and after that, then I go for constitutional is my second choice. And the least amount that I have is bars. I just chose not to get into bars. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different strategy. So if you like bars, you're going to get a lot more weight in silver for for the money that you spend, right? So you get a lot more bang for your buck with bars. But what you're trading off is that the fiat value of these sovereign bullion coins. I hope that makes sense. I know I'm kind of stumbling my words there a little bit, right? But I wanted coins because I wanted, as a prepper, I wanted stuff that I could take to different places in the world, and they would have, I could change to cash, they'd be recognized. If I take a 10-ounce silver bar to, say, India, Yeah, probably I'm going to be able to trade it at a coin shop or a jeweler if they have that machine, right? If they don't have that machine, but I've got an Austrian Philharmonic, there's a pretty good chance they can be like, oh, I know what that is. That's 1 ounce of silver. I'll take that. Okay, that's why I made that choice. But there's nothing wrong with bars. You certainly are going to get a lot more bang for your buck with bars, or for the type of bullion like generic rounds, things like that. You're going to get more bang for your buck. Okay, but that's why I did my strategy. And so just do your research. You don't have to do it like I do. You can do all bars. You can do all generic blanks. You can do all constitutional. Right? There's pros and cons to different strategies. Last question. What are the risks associated with investing in silver and gold coins? All right, so with all investments, there is a choice that gold and silver can go up or down in value. And we have seen that. I can tell you that gold, since the time that I've been stacking in 2009, I've seen gold do two big jumps. One was from 700 to 1400, and then from 1400 to 1800. So when gold jumps, it tends to jump really fast, really fast. And then it may stay at a price for a long time. Silver is a much more slow mover, okay? It doesn't keep pace with gold and silver as it did historically, unfortunately. And there's reasons why, we've gone into that in other videos, but it just doesn't right now. The real price of silver is probably not accurate to what it is for the market. It's probably higher. But silver will go down sometimes, and we have seen that. I think it was around 2012 or so. Silver was at close to $50 an ounce. And then it went all the way back down to 14. So there's risk with all investments. Do I personally consider gold and silver safer than stocks? Yes. But at the other side of that is the upshot on silver and gold doesn't tend to be as quick as it does with stocks, especially if you're making good picks and you're buying blue chip companies like Coca-Cola and Johnson & Johnson. Well, Johnson & Johnson's in the news for their talcum powder lawsuit. Maybe that wasn't a great example, but I own Johnson & Johnson, and I'll continue to buy Johnson & Johnson. But examples like that, big blue chip companies tend to do pretty well over time. And the growth ones, there's definitely more risk. So if there's a new upstart computer company or there's a new cryptocurrency that comes out, there's more risk with that, which means that it could fluctuate a lot more and potentially could be quicker profits, but it also could potentially be quicker losses. So you have to make your own decisions how much you're willing to risk, okay? All right, let's check your questions, and then we're going to start to wind this one down. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and throw them in now, and I appreciate everybody for popping in tonight. You all are awesome. Let's see if I missed anything. Thank you, Prepping by Faith. I do have a great audience, and everybody is really fun. I look forward to these Friday night streams. Scorpion Metals, you're a great guy too. I appreciate you. They did end up making the deal. That's great, Bantalk. That's cool. I've tried a couple times. I had a guy that was doing oil changes for me. I know I should do my own oil changes, but I had this guy that was doing oil changes for me, and we had a pretty good relationship. And I asked him one point, would he be interested in trading an ounce of silver for an oil change? He thought about it, but he didn't want to bite. 90% silver is getting hard to find. Pops back up soon. I picked more up in 1893, $5. Oh man, I'm jealous of that. Homestead Aquarius. I love those old gold pieces. Love those. The half eagles are nice. Yep. India was on a silver standard from most of their history. They love silver and gold is very popular in India. In fact, don't quote me on this, but I think I read a few years ago that more gold is bought in India than any other country in the world. But don't quote me on that. I would have to fact check it. The Indian rupee is derived from the rupiah. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. A silver coin introduced by Shah Suri during his reign from 1540 to 1545. Thank you, Bang Talk. What about storing your bills and booze in all silver steins? That's not a bad idea. All right, let me start to put a bow on this one. I always like to finish up. Gold back money Worth it at all completely. I'm not a fan of the gold backs, Jody Vessar, but lots of other people do like them. There is a little, so what Jody's talking about, if you don't know, there is these bills. I have a couple of them. I don't have them here to show you. There is it looks like a piece of a currency, like a fiat currency, but it's made of gold. And you can buy those through Apmex and other companies too, I believe. I'm not personally a fan of them, but I know that other people like them for a small fractional gold. All right, let's wrap this one up. I like to end all of my live streams with something positive. And so I thought about this week, trying to figure out what I wanted to do for ending this live stream today. And I want to say, before I do this real quick, thank you again, everybody. And thank you, Bacon, for helping mod. Everybody else for the great feedback and commentary in chat. You guys are all awesome. Next Tuesday, I don't know that I'm going to have a long form video out because I'm actually doing my little wilderness getaway thing. If I can get one out, I will. If I can't, then you'll get a short. I promise you, I always release something twice a week. Next Friday, I think I will be back live again. All right, so for my positive message for today, I wanted to talk about setting realistic, obtainable goals, right? So when we're setting goals, you know, it's easy, especially in the prepping community, to get overwhelmed. You see this in the forums with people who are new. They get overwhelmed. They feel like they need to accumulate everything. And in the silver stacking world, you see people say, well, I need to have at least 200 ounces of silver, 100 gold pieces. All right, let's all calm down for a minute, right? Let's start with setting realistic, obtainable goals. That's the key to achieving success and maintaining your motivation through the process, right? So when we set goals that are too lofty, or we set goals that are unrealistic, we set ourselves up for disappointment, and that actually is a big contributor to depression for people. But if we set goals that are achievable and realistic, we create a sense of momentum and progress, and that can help fuel us to keep moving forward. So when we set realistic goals, we're able to break down larger, more complex tasks into smaller, more manageable tasks. I'm going to give you an example here in a second. This allows us to focus on what we can control rather than becoming overwhelmed by the bigger picture. If we achieve each small goal, we build confidence, momentum, and that's going to help us stay motivated to keep tackling more challenging goals in the future. It's important to remember that setting realistic goals does not mean settling for mediocrity. Instead, it means setting goals that are challenging, achievable, and push us to be our best version of ourselves. When we set goals we achieve, we build a foundation of success, and that will carry us forward in all areas of our life. So let's say that you were doing the 200 ounces of silver challenge, right? You said, I got to get my 200 ounces of silver. Well, that's going to be pretty expensive. And maybe you have that kind of money sitting around, or maybe you don't. But if you say, you know what, I would like to one day have 2 ounces of silver, and I'm going to purchase 1 ounce per month, right? Or I'm going to purchase 2 ounces per month, or whatever your budget allows. So each time you get one, and this is pretty much how I started, because I was not financially in a good place in 2009. I was going through a divorce, and I took a really, really bad financial bath on the property that we had to sell, out tens of thousands of dollars. And I was living on a really, really skimpy budget. I've talked about this in some of the other videos where I actually unplugged all of my appliances and had only plugged stuff in when I needed to use it. You know, doing the ramen noodles thing. Basically, you know, I was living pretty poor for a while, but I knew that I wanted to have silver as part of my preps. So I did the envelope system like Dave Ramsey teaches, and I put, I don't remember what it was. Remember, silver at that time was probably, I think, around $20 an ounce. So I think I was putting in like $5 a week into this envelope, and then each month I bought an ounce of silver. And guess what? It started to build up, and guess what? Eventually my financial situation improved, and I was able to buy a little bit more. But buying that 1 ounce of silver each month kept me motivated, kept me on target, and I did feel like I was starting to get somewhere eventually. So you just got to think like that. You break it down into small, achievable, manageable tasks, and eventually you get to that place that you want to be at, okay? This goes for everything in your life. Baby steps, as Prepping by Faith says. Baby steps, right? Set realistic goals, and you will get to the bigger stuff. I promise it's doable, okay? Staying positive, just like Chrome Dome Omega says. The world will end one day, just not tomorrow, okay? We can do this, folks. You don't have to get everything you need tomorrow, I promise, right? Yeah, that's a cool statement right there, Homestead Aquarius. If you had 20 ounces of silver, you're in the top 1% of stackers. That's pretty cool, right? All right, baby steps are safe, exactly. All right, y'all, I hope you have a great weekend. I really appreciate y'all. Get out there and have some fun, and just stay on your goals. Stay positive, but stay committed. And if it seems too hard, back it down a step. That's all. That's all. You can do this. I promise you can do this. Hope everybody enjoyed this one. If you did, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing. Please drop a like. Make sure you check out Bacon's live stream later on tonight. Always a good time over there. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.